Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Chinezeslife. For those of you who may be new to this section of my channel, I do weekly insecure reviews. So I'll be giving you guys my thoughts, the tea, my opinions, and by the way, there are spoilers in this. You know, I do notice that I mention it in my caption or my description box rather, but I realized I never said it on camera. So if you have not watched season 4 of Insecure, up to episode 3, which is the current episode that's out right now, I suggest that you pause this video, go watch that, and then when you're done watching, come back to this review. So as episode 3 begins, we see that Lawrence is getting ready for work, and it looks like Condola has spent the night at his place. And based on what he's saying, it seems like, you know, he's preparing for a job interview or maybe like for a promotion. And then the next scene, you know, we kind of see him and Condola, like, you know, like just being cute and better, whatever. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like I really like them together. Like, I don't know, like by the end of the episode, I was definitely like, ooh, this is gonna be kind of rocky from here on out. But in the beginning of the episode, especially that opening scene, I was like, oh, they're actually kind of cute together. I could ship this. So one of my biggest takeaways from that scene was basically, you know, like after like they're done like having their little cute time or whatever, Lawrence is kind of just in bed with Condola and he's kind of like, you're doing big things, you know. It kind of makes me feel like I'm not doing enough in a sense. And I feel like that was such an important scene because one, of course, when your partner is the one who like seems like they have like 100% everything together, it's gonna kind of make you feel like inferior in a sense because of course you're happy for them, but then it's also like, dang, like I wish all my stuff was together too. So with that, it just kind of makes him feel like, you know, like he just has to step his game up because she got all her stuff together. Because to Lawrence, it's kind of like, if it's not something with work, it's something with his relationship. It's not something with his relationship, it's just something. Like, basically, like, he just feels like all his cards are never, like, played at the same time. Like, everything is never, like, 100% good in each category, which, of course, is definitely a feeling that, like, you know, a lot of us will go through. But then, the tea was that, was Condola really about to not at least talk to Lawrence about what her Thanksgiving plans were? Because based on the episode, it kind of seemed like Thanksgiving was about to be in the coming week or so. And it's like, y'all didn't even discuss Thanksgiving, not even a little bit. Not even like as in inviting each other, but just more so like, oh yeah, every year I usually do da 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 da. I'm like, I found that kind of interesting that one, he wasn't invited, but two, she didn't even speak to him about it, period. Because she's like, oh yeah, it's this thing I do with my friends every year. And the fact that she was the host and didn't say anything, I feel like that's mad sus. But then we later learned in the episode that, you know, like, she obviously did so because she, at least from how Lawrence is seeing it, is kind of how I see it too, because it's kind of like, are you taking this thing as seriously as I am? And it actually makes a lot of sense, like, now that I'm like thinking about everything, because I saw a tweet, someone was like, Condola is in a situationship and Lawrence is in a relationship. And I'm like, wow, that's so true. Like, he was over here thinking that, you know, like, this is like something serious. Oh, by the way, basically one of her friends who happened to be really lit was in the kitchen with Lawrence and kind of just being like, oh, you know, she's so happy that you two found each other, da da da. This is great for her, you know, just keeping it casual, da da da. And Lawrence is just in his head like, keeping it casual, like, And then when he brings it up to Condola at the end of the night and she's just like, wait, what did she say? Did she say that? And then it's more so like Condola, like, because Condola had said just jokingly that, you know, like, she doesn't want to be anywhere near a wedding. She never wants to plan a wedding again. Obviously to Lawrence, who's, you know, never been married and, you know, who he knows that she's coming off of her divorce. But then at the same time to him, he kind of took that as like, wait, so do you not want to, like, you know, like, build a family like with me? Because hello, like, you're saying you never want to get married, you want to stay as far away from that altar as possible and basically just never be in sight of that. It's kind of telling Lawrence like, whoa, like, so wait, like, what are we doing? Because Lawrence also said earlier in the episode, like, you know, like, he's 32. And also, I forgot to mention, but basically with Lawrence, oh, I forgot about this scene. Basically with Lawrence's job, they basically said that, you know, they're going to be cutting back on certain staff. And then meaning, so like, if they're cutting back, then people are not going to be getting promotions either. So even though it seems like he's being kept where he's at right now, that basically means that like there's no areas for mobility in his job, which is like not what he's trying to do. So that kind of means that you're going to be stuck somewhere. And it's kind of like when you're at that path of trying to elevate your career, it's like, if you're in a job that you're literally always going to be doing the same thing over and over, like, what is there to look forward to if you're not going to be able to, you know, like, advance to the next stage? And that basically looks like the company is going through a restructuring. So yeah, so basically like that was just that whole scene in the car with Lawrence, which later came out as he was talking to Condola and her friends, because one of her friends actually happened to work in tech as well. And I'm just like, wow, like, see, small world. So she also worked in tech and she was like, oh, I heard like over at Meridian, like, you know, you guys have like some cut downs going on. And then Lawrence is just like, oh yeah, and Condola, obviously Lawrence didn't speak to her about that in detail yet. And Lawrence is like, oh yeah, I just found out. I'm like, whole time you was about to be prepping for a promotion that you thought you was about to get. So something that I forgot to mention totally was how the fight between Lawrence and Condola even started. And it was basically because, you know, he was helping her clean up at the end of the night, whatever the case may be. And he's just like, you know, being like, oh, thanks for inviting me. And then she gonna be like, oh, technically I didn't invite you. But she said it in like a joking way, but then it was still kind of like she was being serious. And he was just like, wait, what? Like, you really weren't gonna invite me? And she's like, you know, it's just kind of like a lot of pressure on me, and, you know, pressure on you. And then it kind of made him think like more like deep into what her friend said. And he basically told her that, you know, like your friend basically said that, like, you know, like I'm only like a buddy to you. Like, is that true? Like, why would she say that unless, you know, like what have you told her that's gonna lead her to believe that? And he definitely has a point, because it's like drunk thoughts or like sober thoughts, and then you felt comfortable enough to tell me that when that's obviously something that she's told you, because she's not just gonna make up that narrative in her head, you know, it's based off what you tell her. So that's basically what led him to be like, you know, like, so you weren't gonna invite me? And she's just like, you know, like that's pressure on me, and, you know, like that's pressure on you, which basically leads him back to that comment. And it's just like, so like, is what she said true? And then some shots kind of start to be thrown, and Lawrence kind of sent a misdirected one to Condola, because I'm like, you're setting yourself up with this one, because he had the audacity, because one thing I'll say again, it's one thing that men always have. It's the audacity. But Lawrence had the audacity to bring up her ex, like her ex-husband, to be like, oh, like, are you still caught up on him? And she was just like, wait, what? Like, why would you even think that? Because to me, it just seems like, okay, like, yes, she got divorced and she may be over the person, but maybe it's just, you know, like the whole concept of like the divorce and like processing that. And of course, like, yeah, like I could want to eventually get married, but like literally planning a wedding and doing all that stuff, like that's not something that someone wants to rush into either. Now you're with this new person, you kind of just want to enjoy the beginning stages. And again, they've only been talking for like 2-3 months. So at this point, like, I don't even know if they're officially together, but it just kind of seems like she's trying to take it slow, which, okay, it's fine if the other person is okay with that. So I think this scene just kind of revealed that, you know, they may be on 2 different paths and they may just need to have a talk. Because when jabs like that start to be thrown, because Lawrence, like, that was a boomerang. Like, it literally was a boomerang. Like, you knew that was going to come right back to you. Because Condola hit him with the, wait a minute, me and my ex? Like, what about you and your ex? Like, she literally will be popping up on us, or whatever the case may be. Which also, when Issa, I felt so bad. When her and Lawrence happened to run into each other and they was just chopping it up, it turns out that the place that Issa was about to eat at is apparently somewhere that Condola put her onto. So it's like Lawrence just happened to see her. They was just chopping it up. It was all good. And then Condola entered and, you know, things just kind of got like, it wasn't super awkward. Like the conversation could have continued, but just like no one continued it. So that made it awkward. But then it was just like, like you were just like akikiing over there with her and you're saying I should be worried about my ex. And then that scene was also funny because Issa literally was like, oh no, I was just about to head out of here, da-da-da. And I'm just like, knowing she lying. Like, they could probably tell you lying, sis. The lies! The lies! But to make matters worse, the guy's like, meatball sub for Issa? And then she's just like rushing to go and get it. And he's like, meatball sub for Issa for here? I said, wow. She said she was rushing to go. She had to walk out with the tray. I'm like, sis, you can't go out like that. So back to Condola and Lawrence and that ending scene. Like, I loved how it just ended because they're basically on opposite sides of her kitchen, which, by the way, do y'all see how nice and fancy Condola's kitchen was? I was like, oh, okay, girl, your job is paying that salary. Like, what did y'all see? Basically, they're on opposite sides of the kitchen. You could tell by what they were wearing, like just the black and white, like it just put things kind of into perspective. It's just like, all right, like this is the black and white. Maybe this is like the gray area between us. We know we got to figure this out first. Even her kitchen was just like gray. And I'm just like, Also, just a sidebar in this whole episode, because it was such a cute touch. I really loved how they included like Instagram stories like in the episode, because again, like that's super real. Like you're literally will just be living your life. And then, you know, you swipe up on your phone and like a text could change your whole mood, or IG story from your friend could change your whole mood. So I definitely liked even how they included like Kelly and like, you know, her super fun family in there. I was just like, wow, like Kelly is a whole mood. The fact that it was Thanksgiving and she's turning up with her aunties, I'm like, nah, that's actually real though. I love that. How can I talk about this episode without mentioning that grocery store scene? Yo, there was definitely some symbolisms that I picked up from early on, whether that was, you know, Issa having just her little shopping basket and then Molly having this huge cart. Issa putting away food because she can't afford it, versus Molly, you know, just having this whole cart full of avocados, like 12 avocados. Like, avocados are not cheap, bro. Like, that's expensive. And she's talking about, oh, 12. Like, what? How you need 12? But anyways, so I think that just showed, like, even within the scene, just kind of showed that, you know, like, they're both, like, they can still be friends, but they both kind of, like, live within their means, or they both kind of, like, have different lifestyles when it does come to money, but they still are somehow able to make it work. So in this scene, they were kind of going, like, jab for jab. Like, in the past few episodes, obviously, we're knowing that Issa does not mess with Molly no more, and we're kind of trying to figure out how. So we're kind of seeing like the microaggressions and just the way that they speak to each other and just the body language when they even are around each other. Like, it doesn't seem as flowing and as lovey-dovey as they used to be as best friends in previous seasons, obviously, because there's just been a lot of tension, a lot of buildup, and a lot of things that need to be said. And I think that after some jabs were thrown, they finally did realize that, you know, like, okay, like, we need to actually talk this out. Like, you know what, let's just do it over pie, like when you usually come over for Thanksgiving. Cause y'all, like, they was coming for each other. I was like, hold on, I wrote this down. It was when Issa was putting some food away, like from her basket, basically putting down things that she couldn't afford. I think that Issa had basically mentioned Condola as she was, you know, like, just like putting away the food, like, oh yeah, you know, for the block party, something, something. And she probably just brought up Condola after that. But then Molly was basically like, oh, I don't know how you act like you're okay with that. And Issa's just like, yeah, it's cool. Like, I saw them like together yesterday. Like, it's all good. And then Molly came with the shade because she's like, oh, I'm glad your throuple is a success or something like that. And I'm just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, sis, first of all, it's not even a throuple because like they're cool. Like, it's not like they're like literally messing around with each other. Like, that's what you were doing with Dro and Candace. So Issa then claps back and is basically like, weren't you just in a throuple? Like, what are you talking about? Like, how could you even say that type thing? But then Molly comes back with shade and a clap back. I was like, she literally said, at least I wasn't for free weed and toiletries. I said, oh, that's what we doing now. It's one thing if we like joking, but like you doing this to literally come for me. And like they both kind of realized that they both like kind of crossed the line, and that's when they were like, all right, like clearly like something is off, something's been off, we need to have a talk. So we then cut to the scene of Molly enjoying Thanksgiving with her family, or at least trying to enjoy. It kind of seems like she's like the perfectionist in a sense of her family. She's just very like regal, and like everyone else seems like they're like very laid back. She ends up telling her mom about Andrew, which is something that I actually really enjoyed, because just like, you know, like hearing her mom's perspective as an older woman, as a married woman, kind of like speak on relationships. I really liked how she was just able to, you know, like give her daughter like basically like words of advice. Basically, Molly's mom is just like, you know, like, when am I gonna have my grandchildren? Like, are you even dating anyone? And Molly's just like, you know what? Yes, I am. We've just been seeing each other for a few months. We've just been hanging out. And she shows her mom a picture of Andrew, and her mom was just like, is he Korean? I'm like, nah, I'm weak. Her mom ends up showing the picture to her brother. They all just end up having like a family bonding moment, but it was cute. Her mom is like, oh, like you should have invited him. And then Molly is just like kind of shocked because it's like Issa was kind of telling her the opposite. Like, you know, like, I think it's too soon. Oh, the grocery scene, what Issa said to ignite the fire though, she was like, you don't want to pull an old Molly and scare him away. And then that's what made Molly come with the clapbacks. So both of them, like I said, both of them were wrong for how they said what they said and what they said. So her mom then proceeds to tell her, like, basically, like, you know, like, if he's like the right one, you know, like, you won't scare him away, basically like that's showing him your family, that's showing him that, you know, you're more serious, that he is something that you want to take more serious. So it's just kind of like, if he can't stand, you know, to be around you and your family and like in that realness, then, you know, then he was never the one for you. So it kind of makes Molly like kind of like reconsider and be like, you know what, like, you're right, like maybe I should, you know, like try to take things to the next level in a sense. So something I also didn't remember that I actually had to look up was what Molly's like problem or issue was with her father. And I was just kind of like, my assumption was that like, oh, like maybe like he cheated, like, or maybe like he's not her dad or something. But I think from what I looked up, it turns out that he had cheated on her mom years and years ago, but then they ended up making up. But it's just taking Molly, you know, longer to process what has happened. And she was even about to be placed on a team to play card games with her dad, basically. and she kind of made it obvious to everyone that there was an issue between them because she didn't want to sit down next to him. She was like, oh, you know, there's an odd number of people, like I'll just like keep score or something. And then her little like nephew was just like, I want to keep score, and basically that was a dub for her. So her brother, which I actually didn't even remember either, that she had brothers, let alone two brothers, let alone that they were like, you know, with such personalities like that. But basically her brother pulls her into the kitchen and is like, yo, Molly, like we can all tell that, you know, you're beefing with dad. Like you gotta relax. Like you gotta, you know, like if mom can forgive him, then like you need to like learn that, you know, like you can forgive him too, basically. And he definitely has a point. Like obviously everyone takes their time to forgive, but it's kind of like the mom was kind of the most directly affected person. Again, not to rush you into forgiving someone or to even like quote unquote like being cool, because like just because someone is your family doesn't mean that you have to talk to them. You can be cordial, but like it doesn't mean that you have to like be like cool with them, you know what I mean? But I think that that was at least important for Molly to hear, obviously from her own brother too, who also experienced it and processed things in his own way. You're gonna have to eventually at least, you know, like give him a chance to like right his wrongs in a sense. Like he's already been sticking around and he's already been trying to do that, so it's like, you know, like at least he's trying, because some people could have just cheated and like walked away and started a new family, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like giving Molly that reassurance that, you know, like people can change although they did make a mistake. And he was also like validating, like, you know, you could feel how you feel right now, but also like, you know, just give him a chance, like he's trying, like he's here. Also when she was basically like, you know, like stop calling him a nigga, and then her brother was just like, dads are niggas too, they just the grown up version. And I'm just like, that's true too. Like you have to realize that people are always going to be people. Like just because you see them as your father, like he's just a man dealing with, you know, his own internal struggle, which leads him to make certain choices. Just because someone is your dad or someone is your mom or someone is your sister or, you know, someone is your relative or friend doesn't mean that they're immune from making mistakes. And then a scene that I loved was Issa. She ended up ditching her Thanksgiving plans with her family. Basically her mom and her mom's like new boyfriend, I'm presuming him to be, but her boyfriend basically has to go to the hospital, and Issa and her brother, which I actually love Issa and her brother's relationship, like they literally get along so well, and like he is actually able to like get through to her and, you know, like just actually like, you know, drop gems, because he said a lot of important things to her, like actually just giving her sound advice and really just saying like how he overcame his own problems in relationships, kind of like just being himself, because for so long he had to hold back who he truly was. Basically Issa ends up, you know, like bringing up to him how seeing, you know, Condola and Lawrence together kind of like hurt her, and how she doesn't really feel like she has like the right to feel how she feels in a way. And also she said that, you know, she feels like Condola is reaping the benefits of like, you know, the man that she built, as in like building up Lawrence. And I'm just like, wow, like that's actually like, that is a thing, because it's kind of like she spent 5 years of her later 20s with him. Like every year of your life is important, but like especially in your 20s, like that seemed like, you know, like that was it. Like they were together for so long, like things just became so like normal. And it's kind of like she just got used to him being like, you know, like he was unemployed at the time or whatever the case may be, or just kind of going job to job. Like she was basically like being there for support and to uplift him, and, you know, to like make sure that he was trying to be the better version of himself in a sense. So it's just kind of like she put in all that work only for him to like, you know, end up leaving her, obviously, you know, because she cheated and whatever the case may be. But like now she's seeing Condola like out with him. He's like paying for things for her. He's, you know, dressing better now. He's making more money. He has a nice place. So it's just kind of like, wow, like where was this energy when you were with me? You know, like she has like this whole different version of him, which is kind of like interesting to see, because it's like, yeah, like she could be happy for him or like try to be happy for him. Condola's obviously her friend. She could try to be happy for her. But at the end of the day, like it's gonna take some time for her to like 100% process, like, you know, like this is the new normal. Like, am I really gonna be friends with her if all I'm seeing and being reminded of is that, you know, like she's getting that treatment that I always wanted, and now he's the version of himself that I always wanted him to be. And it just sucks that, like, you know, like I made that mistake that I did, because if I hadn't, like, would he be where he is today? You know what I mean? She was basically like, I got the person with potential, like I got the work in progress. And it's just like, wow, like sometimes it really do be like that. Like when she said that, I felt that, because I'm just like, wow, like, because sometimes like someone could seem like they're about to give you like their all, and then, you know, like they just go on a downward trajectory, and you just have to like, you know, like move on. And then it's like you see them like doing what they said that they would do for you but never did with someone else. And it's just like, wow, like you could really be over them, but it's just kind of like thinking about like, wow, like how come I wasn't able to change you, or how come I wasn't able to stick with you until you were able to reach that point, you know? And then also I'm like, dang, Lawrence never bought her food or lunch or nothing once. Sheesh, 5 years? Issa, girl. I feel like I'm all out of order, but if you watch the episode, you know, hopefully I'm helping you jog your memory. But something else I wanted to mention was how when Issa and her brother, instead of doing plans with their family, since, you know, their real family, which is basically just their mom, was at the hospital with her boyfriend, they basically ditched like staying with the extended family that was coming over and decided to go to a Mexican restaurant instead, which looked very lit and I would love to go there. They was having some nice fajitas, some margaritas, a mariachi band ended up coming to play for them, and it was just a nice scene. And Issa ended up recording like a little IG story. I was like, okay, she looks nice, like looks like she's enjoying, having fun or whatever. So we cut to the end scene and it's basically like Lawrence swiping up on Issa's post and like putting like a laughing face, and then we see that Issa like responds almost instantly, and I'm just like, oh, hold on, what do we have here? What is happening? What is going on, folks? Is this friendship happening? Like, I thought you was just trying to keep your distance, and especially after him having that conversation with Condola, it was definitely a eyebrow raiser. I'm like, you writing your ex on Thanksgiving, you just seen her the other day and y'all was akikiing. I'm just like, interesting. Condola had basically asked like, if Issa hadn't have cheated, like, would you still be with her to this day? Which I feel like is kind of a stupid question though, because it's like, I don't know. I can't go back in the past and change what she did, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, maybe, yeah. Like, do you want me to say yes? Like, that was just a stupid question, because it's like, what is that answer going to provide, you know? Like, obviously, if we were still together, how would I be with you if we were still together? Also, as far as like the texts between Molly and Issa during the show, basically Issa had texted Molly to be like, you know, like, Thanksgiving's been crazy, like, I'll let you know if I'm still coming. And then Molly gonna respond like when she see it in the kitchen and be like, do you, girl? I feel like Molly is so like overly passive aggressive. Like, what does do you, girl even mean? Like, I just told you Thanksgiving is crazy. You wasn't even like, oh dang, hope that everything is okay, hope to see you later, let me know. Like, she was literally just so bothered in the moment that she was just like, do you, girl? And I'm like, ugh, Molly, like, it's literally draining having someone like that around who like actually is just like so passive aggressive like that. Because if she was feeling a way about Issa like potentially canceling on her, she could have just been like, dang, like, I hope that everything's okay with you, would really love to see you, you know? Like, at least show like some compassion. She didn't even address that Issa said like, you know, Thanksgiving's been crazy or whatever. So back to the end scene, basically Lawrence, you know, ends up writing back to Issa, and then once he sees her responding, like, he like just starts to smile, and then the camera's cut and Case of the Ex by Maya starts to play. I said, wow. Well played. So now I'm just super excited for the next episode, because several things happened in this episode. It's like, all right, like, now we know for sure like there's been some sort of a fight between Lawrence and Condola. Again, it kind of seems like Lawrence is taking things more serious than she is, but then at the same time, Condola does have a point that, you know, like, if anyone should be worried, it should be me, because Lawrence and Issa seem to kind of be getting closer. Like, the IG stories, the laughing together in person, him probably not even telling Condola that he met up with her. It's just like, okay, things are starting to brew there. And then obviously with Molly and Issa's relationship, like, they haven't even had this talk, but we see that there's so much tension, and there's going to be a long, hard, like, thought out, like, I don't even know what they're about to say to each other, because shots were fired in this episode. Like, they were not playing games with each other. Like, this was no subs, like, this was direct shots, like, missiles. I'm talking missiles. And I really like how in this episode we got to see more of the relationship between Issa and her brother. He really gives good advice, because he literally was like, you know, just because someone tells you to do something doesn't mean that you have to. And then we see that Issa ends up canceling on Molly like after that, because she was like, can we do this another day? And Molly's just like, you got it, or like, sure, or something like that. So guys, overall, I'd give this episode a 10 out of 10. I realized I didn't rate the last ones, but I definitely give this one a 10 out of 10. This was by far my favorite episode of the season so far, and I'm so excited again, like, just for all those little mini plots to unravel, especially obviously with Molly and Issa, and with Lawrence and Issa, because, you know, I like him and Condola together, but it also seems like, you know, Condola's in a different place in her life. Like she's not really looking to settle down. And it kind of seems like, you know, Lawrence is kind of looking to do that. And again, like obviously for the fact that he was with Issa for 5 years and, you know, like now, like that's the version of him that she has always wanted. It's just kind of like, And I think it's funny too, because it looks like, you know, well, it's not funny that he's on the verge of this, but it looks like he may be on the verge of losing his job. So I think someone was basically like, oh, like watch Issa get Lawrence back, but then he gonna lose his job again and be the same broke one that she was complaining about. I said, nah, that would be evil. What? Let me know what you guys thought and what your favorite part of this episode was. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching and supporting. If you're not subscribed, make sure to pause this video and hit that subscribe button. Also to, you know, hit the bell for them bell notifications so that you know when I am posting a new video. And guys, this is now my 10th video. I have surpassed my goal of 8 videos per month. Just saying, this is gonna be either my 9th or 10th video depending on when I post my other videos. But yeah guys, let's you know, give me a little thumbs up for that, because you know I really just want to work on staying consistent and bringing you guys quality content. Also, if you guys don't follow me on Instagram, make sure to follow me on Instagram at chinezeslife. And if you're not following me on Twitter, make sure to follow me over there at chinezeslen. So thanks so much guys, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.